Let the social worker cover it. That's what she's good for, cleaning up. Ocean Avenue glowed under us. Glass walls, string lights, a branded step and repeat leaning on chrome poles. Deirdre's birthday, and the rooftop was full of the kind of people who clap with one hand while filming with the other. Perfume in the air, ice in the buckets, money everywhere, even in the napkins. I arrived in a clean thrifted pantsuit, hair pinned, shoes scuffed but polished. Deirdre air-kissed me from a distance, her bracelet catching the light. Seat cards up front read, "Family only." My name sat at the edge table next to the planter with the fake palms. Betrayal came in like a commercial, rented diamonds at her collar. A videographer trailed her, shooting for a birthday vlog. She waved at the camera. "Gratitude is a habit, you guys," she said, then winked. The room laughed like it had been trained. Thomas raised a flute. "To Betrayal, brand launches, real accomplishment." The applause rolled in, loud and warm. I lifted my water. No one met my eyes. A cousin leaned over to another guest and smirked. "Ava does counseling, right? Like guidance hall duty?" They laughed into their glasses. I straightened the flatware at my place setting and tucked my phone deeper into my pocket. Breath in, breath out. Deirdre drifted past my chair like a queen on a tour. "Important work," she said, smiling tight, "if you can live on it." The people around her laughed again, that soft, rich laugh that says yes without ever saying the word. The server slid a black billfold in front of me like a dealer in a casino. "They said you've got this." His voice was respectful. His eyes apologized. My neck went hot. I blinked once, nodded once. Hands didn't shake yet. Betrayal leaned in, syrup sweet, still half-turned toward her camera. "School salary covers it? Or nah?" She smiled like it was a joke. It wasn't. Thomas watched me like a referee waiting for a foul. Deirdre tilted her head, perfectly posed, as if pity could be photogenic. I pulled my card and slid it across. The server dicked, tapped. Beep! Declined. A laugh spiked from somewhere behind me. I took out my debit card. "Run this, please?" He nodded and tried again. Beep! Declined. "Budgeting is a grown-up skill," Thomas said, loud enough to turn heads. People smiled into their wine. Someone coughed to hide a laugh. My face burned. My fingers went cold. I kept my voice level. "Split the bill. Fair is fair." "Don't make a scene, dear," Deirdre said, still smiling. "It's tacky." A couple of phones inched up. The videographer kept the camera steady on Betrayal's angle, catching my reflection in a slice of the frame. A cousin whispered, "She's touchy," and laughed into her napkin. My phone buzzed. "Principal Chen, you okay?" I didn't open it. I flipped its screen down and slid it under my thigh. I looked at the server. "I'll handle it." "Give me a second." He hovered, unsure. "I can split it for the table," he offered quietly, but then glanced at Deirdre's side eye and froze. This was what they wanted, the tiny theater of my panic. I wouldn't give it to them. I set my napkin on the table with calm hands and stood. "Excuse me." Air. Someone, "Excuse me." Air. Someone stage whispered, "Drama," like it was dessert. A bartender at the outdoor bar polished a glass and set it down. I felt eyes and turned. An older woman watched me from her stool, silver hair set tidy, posture straight. Not kind, not cruel, present. Eleanor Whitcomb. She didn't perform concern, she just saw. We held each other's gaze for one beat, then another. No smile, no nod. Just that steady look, like she was counting how many times I swallowed and how long I stood without shaking. I fixed my cuff and smoothed my jacket. I pocketed my phone and let my shoulders fall into a level line. When I walked back across the terrace, the blogger lifted his camera again, then hesitated and dropped it. I didn't give him the angle. Inside, the music pushed harder. Betrayal did a slow spin for her video. "Family is everything," she said to the lens. "Say it back." Laughter. I passed the step and repeat without stopping. The videographer lowered his camera as I went by, like even he felt the temperature in the room tip from cute to cruel. I took the long route along the glass to my corner table. People adjusted their chairs to make me move closer to them, then pretended they didn't. I sat, set my hands in my lap, and looked straight ahead. The server hovered again. I met his eye and gave him a small nod that said I wasn't going to break him open for doing his job. He exhaled in relief. Brielle floated over with her camera crew, all peach gloss and careful teeth. "We good?" she asked, like a teacher in a play. The lens waited for a soundbite. I kept my voice flat. "We're done." "Don't be bitter," she whispered. The mic caught it. She didn't care. A stranger at another table said, "Let it go, honey." Another one said, "She's sensitive." Laughter rippled again. It moved through people fast, the way a yawn moves through a classroom. They fed off each other. They always had. I pushed my chair back and stood. This time, I didn't say anything. I crossed the room with my head level. No one moved to stop me. The elevator bank waited at the far wall. Its gold doors threw my reflection back in a thin strip. I could see the line of my mouth and the place where the sweat had dried at my hairline. I pressed the button and felt my pulse slow to a new beat. The doors slid open. Before I stepped in, I heard a thin cough and a clear, low voice behind me near the valet stand. It cut clean through the clatter and the music and the laughter. "Get me her name," the voice said, quietly. I didn't turn. The word quietly sat in the air like a pin. The elevator doors closed on the sound of a new song starting and a small wave of claps. My hands had stopped shaking. My throat had stopped burning. I didn't know why, only that something had shifted sideways, like a picture frame nudged straight. Outside, the breeze hit softer. The valet lane buzzed, ride shares, a couple of sports cars, a white Escalade with a driver holding a sign for someone with a bigger name than mine. I walked past the crowd with the same slow pace, like I had somewhere worth going that didn't require permission. At the corner, I waited for the light. A group of party guests spilled out behind me, still laughing, still high on sugar and performance. One of them said, "She should be grateful," and another said, "She should be quiet." I didn't turn. The crosswalk blinked white, and I stepped off the curb. At the far side of the block, I leaned against the concrete and pulled out my phone. Principal Chen had sent exactly 3 words and a period. "You okay?" I typed back, "I will be." Then I put the phone away, lifted my face. My hand found the chipped paint beside the window and stayed there. The cheap lamp on my table hummed. A car door slammed outside, then footsteps up the hall. I swallowed once. "I didn't make a scene," I said. "You didn't," she answered. "They did." I stayed by the glass, looking at the streetlight instead of my reflection. She didn't fill the quiet with small talk. She let it sit, like she trusted me to breathe on my own. "No one earns humiliation for choosing service over self-promotion," she said. My mouth opened, then closed. I wanted to argue with the whole night, but all I did was nod at a window that couldn't see me. "How long have you worked for the district?" she asked. 7 years. "Which school?" "Belmont area," I said, "split across 2 campuses now." "Bus duty?" "Morning and afternoon." "You feed them?" "If I can." "You pay for it?" "If I don't, no one does." A small exhale crossed the line. Not disgust, not pity, just that low sound people make when a number lands heavier than it should. "I see," she said. "That's the part the Parkers will never understand." I pulled the curtain wider and let the orange streetlight cut across my floor. The hall door down the way opened and closed again. Somewhere a dog barked once and stopped. "I'd like you to come by this weekend," she said. "For what?" "Tea," she said. "Conversation. And perhaps restitution." "Restitution?" The word came out sharper than I meant. "For what happened tonight?" "For a pattern," she said. "Bring a folder." "Slim. Something that tells me who you are, not who they say you are." I looked at the table where my case files sat in a crooked stack. Truancy notes, food insecurity forms, a report with a coffee ring on the corner. I cleared my throat. "Why me?" I asked. "Because you didn't ask for anything," she said. "That's rare." "Does Deirdre know you're calling?" "No." She's your niece. Blood doesn't excuse cruelty. I stood there with my thumb pressed white against the phone edge. The lamp buzzed. Somewhere outside, a skateboard rattled down the block and faded. You did nothing wrong, she said. Good night, ma'am. The kitchen needed doing, so I did it. I rinsed 2 bowls, lined them on a towel, matched forks to the right slots. I scooped rice into containers and advanced beans with a spoon that had a bend in the stem. I labeled a bag of granola bars with a sticky note, nurse's office, for headaches. I wrote it like I always did, neat, like I was leaving proof for someone who would never ask. I pulled a school polo from the laundry basket and smoothed the collar flat with my hand. Another shirt, a skirt. I set tomorrow's outfit across the chair back and tucked a pair of socks into the shoes beneath it. The apartment quieted in inches. I paused at the window again. Echo Park Lake sat dark beyond the street, a soft string of lights hugging one path. A couple laughed on the sidewalk, and the laugh broke into a cough, then into nothing. I lifted the sash an inch. Traffic blew in with a breath of warm air. I didn't talk to the ceiling. I didn't list the rooftop sins to the lamp. I cleaned, packed, folded, and let the call sit where it had landed, solid, unperformed. When I couldn't avoid the table anymore, I pulled my tote close and unzipped the middle pocket. A slim gray binder slid free, the kind you buy in bulk because schools love paper more than budgets. Inside, a loused Community Impact certificate with my name spelled right for once. 2 letters from parents about food vouchers, a photo of the after-school art club holding up messy canvases in a hallway with broken lights. I turned the binder sideways and added a short note from a student who had written, "Thank you for the coat." No spelling errors, just a blunt line and a smiley face. I slipped a printed email behind it, confirmation of a $100 microgrant we used for crayons when the supply closet ran dry. I flipped the cover shut. It didn't thicken. It didn't need to. The binder lay on the table like a small, stubborn yes. The phone lit again. Come as you are, no entourage, E. A minute passed. Let's do this right. I didn't reply. I stood and took the binder to the door and set it by my shoes. I checked the time. After midnight, leaning hard into morning. The alarm on my phone read 6 a.m. I left it there. On the couch, the cushions held the shape of my back. The ceiling fan clicked once, then found a rhythm. The apartment smelled like dish soap and rice. Outside, the siren came back, got stuck at the corner, then left as if it remembered a different street. I tried the news and shut it off. I tried music and shut it off. I let the quiet be the only sound, with the city tugging at the edges. When my chest tightened again, I got up, found my sneakers, and laced them slow. In the stairwell, the light flickered twice and settled. I took the steps down to the stoop and sat. The night had binned. The air felt used up and soft. Across the street, a woman unloaded a trunk, one grocery bag at a time. She didn't look up. 2 men argued a block over and then split in opposite directions, both waving their hands like they had won. I texted one person, "You awake?" The dots came up, disappeared, came back. Barely. "You okay? Chen." I stared at the words and typed back. "Long day. I'll be in early." Bus line. "Got it. Coffee's on. Chen." "Thank you." No, what happened? No advice. Just the ground under tomorrow. I went back upstairs and set 2 granola bars on top of the folder so I wouldn't forget them. I slid a pack of hand warmers into my tote, even though summer had its hand on the city. Kids get cold when they're hungry. Bodies do that. I checked the peephole before I turned off the hall light, habit more than fear. Empty hall, faded carpet, a flyer for a lost cat pinned crooked to the corkboard. I turned the lock and stood a second, listening to the quiet like it was something I had paid for. I lay on the couch again with a thin blanket over my legs. The lamp hummed. The fan kept its slow slice through the heat. When my phone buzzed a last time, I didn't move. It could wait. It did. Morning slid in fast. 4 hours, maybe less. My alarm found me with a single note and then another. I shut it off and stood, the kind of up you do when there's no one else to dress the day for you. I brewed coffee, poured half into a travel mug, left the rest on the burner for a neighbor who sometimes knocked at 6:45 looking sorry. I packed the binder and the bars and an extra pair of gloves, ridiculous in July, perfect in a classroom with air conditioning set by someone who never visited. By 6:20, I was out the door and walking. The lake had mist on it, low and thin. Joggers nodded. A man stretched his back against a lamppost and winced, then smiled when he caught me noticing. "Old," he said. I smiled back without breaking pace. At the bus line, a cluster of kids formed before the buses did. I set the crate on the curb and opened it. Spare water bottles, a few apples, the bars. A girl with a hoodie up came first. She looked at the crate, then at me. "Headache?" I asked. She nodded. I handed her a granola bar and a water. She muttered thanks, then sat on her backpack and ate like no one could see her. A boy from down the street asked if the after-school club still had room. I told him yes if he brought a friend who never signed up for anything. By 7:10, the buses had swallowed most of them. I wiped my hands on a napkin and checked my phone. No missed calls. One new message. Saturday, noon, my place, address below, E. A second message came through with a Silver Lake street and a gate code. No emojis, no smile, no can't wait. I stared until the screen dulled again. At the office, I dropped the binder on my desk and moved it 3 times until it sat straight. I checked the day's schedule, 2 counseling sessions, 1 parent conference, lunch duty because someone called out. I typed notes. I answered an email from a caseworker who always signed off with warmly like the word had a temperature. At 11, Principal Chen stepped into my doorway and set a mug down. He didn't ask, he didn't look at the binder. He said, "You're on the bus line tomorrow too?" I nodded. He said, "Okay." Then he left. The door stayed open. The day did what school days do. It stacked itself without asking. At 3:40, I circled back to the binder, slid the other. He nodded hard and sprinted back to the bus stop, shoes slapping the concrete like applause. That night, the apartment looked different without me doing anything to it. Same lamp, same table, same stack of bowls. I set the binder on the chair by the door and laid my keys on top. The fan clicked once, the fridge cycled off. The city carried itself along the window and let a little of it leak in. The phone stayed quiet until just before midnight. "Come as you are, no entourage, E." I read it once and sat with it, hands open on my knees. A minute later it buzzed again. "Let's do this right." I didn't type a reply. I stood, took the binder in both hands and put it back by the door. I turned off the lamp and let the dark sit where light had been. When I lay down, the room didn't spin. The ceiling fan kept its slow work. The street wore itself down to a hush. I watched the red blink of the smoke detector and counted the spaces between each pulse. Not like a prayer, not like a plan. Just counting. Just breathing. Just the small work of holding still long enough for a new voice to reach the old noise and change the pitch of the night. I parked on a narrow Silver Lake street where the curb paint had worn to chalk. Late sun laid citrus shadows across the tile of her front steps. I wiped my palms on my slacks before I knocked. The door opened half a second later, as if she'd been standing there, waiting. "Tea?" Eleanor said. No assistant, no smile for show. Just a short doorway and her steady eyes. "Tea's good," I said. She led me through a small living room lined with framed photos of ships and a single worn piano. No cameras, no floral spray, only dust motes in the angled light and the soft scrape of her house shoes on tile. On a side table, a kettle side. She poured black tea into 2 cups and set a plate of lemon shortbread between us at a little round table that sat in a square of sunlight. "Sugar?" she asked. "Honey," I said. She stirred for me and slid the cup closer. I wrapped both hands around it and let the heat settle into my fingers. She studied my face instead of my clothes. We didn't talk about last night. We didn't have to. 7 years with the district? She asked. 7, I said. Bus duty, lunch duty, crisis calls, the whole... My cup clinked the saucer. I steadied it with both hands before it could rattle again. "You show up without cameras," she said. "Betrayal curates. You work." "I'm not charity," I said. "I know," she said. "Your family where it hurts." I kept my hands around the cup. The heat helped. "This will burn your bridge to them." "They lit the match," she said, flat as a ledger. "You don't need to join the fire." "I don't want a war." "Then don't fire a shot." She slid another sheet toward me, this one typed and clipped at the top. Terms, she said, non-negotiable. I read each line with my finger under the words. No bragging, no revenge, no press as weapon. Use funds to build, not punish. Agree, she asked? I nodded. Out loud. I agree. She didn't smile. She reached again to the drawer and brought out a thin folder with a rubber band. Proof of pattern, she said. Inside sat years of small donation receipts made in my name, each with her tiny checkmark in the corner. School fundraisers, coat drives, bus passes. A few handwritten notes in the margins like November wind chill, holiday week, extras. Behind that, photocopies of bus duty notes and sign-in sheets the district kept. Timestamps, weather scribbles, the days I covered for a custodian who was sick. I don't collect stories, she said. I collect patterns. I flipped the last page. A physician's letter lay stapled to a single form below. She tapped it with a knuckle. Capacity letter, she said. I'm lucid. I'm thorough. Jonah witnessed. You'll be attacked, I said. They mistake noise for leverage, she said. Noise blows away. I set the folder down and pressed my palm flat on the heavy envelope. It felt cool under my skin. My shoulders loosened one small notch. My jaw unclenched. I returned the will to the exact line where she'd placed it, a small show of respect, not refusal. I won't pose, I said. I won't gloat. You'll be called a thief, she said. Then the work will answer. She glanced toward a photo near the piano, an old dock, a young woman in a jacket, a forklift behind her. Started with one forklift, she said. One dock, one ledger. She rubbed her thumbs together as if she still felt sand or splinters there. I scrubbed my hands before counting cash. Clean money touches clean hands. We drank our tea. The lemon shortbread tasted like the kind of cookie you get in a kitchen that still smells like lemon hours later. Neither of us reached for another piece. The words hung between us without floating off. I never finished a charter, she said. I meant to. Things took my attention. For what? I asked. Kids kept small by family, she said. Kinship care without guardrails. Courtrooms that listened to the loudest name. Bridges, not headlines, I said. She nodded. Exactly. She picked up the type sheet again and slid it back into the envelope behind the will. Then she set both hands on either side of the paper like a builder squaring a frame. This stays sealed until I say now, she said. If they bait you, walk, I said. Her mouth ticked at one corner. Not quite a smile, more a mark that the line had landed. Say it, she said. I promise. She stood and moved to a low cabinet against the wall. A small safe waited inside, paint chipped at the edges. She didn't open it yet. She came back to the table and lifted the thin folder with the donation receipts. Match records stay here, she said. You don't leave with copies. Jonah will formalize. You leave with tea and nothing else. Understood, I said. She poured a little hot water into our cups. I watched steam rise and break. She looked at my hands. Shaking less, she said. It wasn't a question. Tea helps, I said. Work will help more, she said, when it's time. We sat without talking for a stretch long enough to hear the kettle click cool. A sparrow bounced along the garden wall outside and flicked away. I finished my cup and set it exactly in its saucer ring. She noticed. Order suits you, she said. Chaos feeds on people like me, I said, so I keep lists. Keep one for this, she said, tapping the envelope. Not a life list, a task list. I nodded. She reached for my slim gray binder, the one I'd brought because she'd told me to, and opened it. She flipped through the LAUSD certificate, the parent thank you notes, the photo of the art program with paint on the table and grins half crooked. She touched one letter from a guardian with both fingers and read the first two lines silently. You don't chase spotlights, she said. Spotlights chase the wrong things, I said. She closed my binder and slid it back to me. Keep doing this, she said, on a scale that fits what's in that envelope. You're asking me to build something, I said. "I am," she said, "but not yet." "Then what now?" I asked. "Now you keep working," she said. "You show up where you show up, and you let me do the rest." I stood because I needed to. "Ava," I turned. "Next time come alone," she said. "Please." I nodded once. She finally carried the envelope to the cabinet, opened the safe with 3 simple turns, set the papers inside, and spun the dial back. The sound of the metal tumblers clicking into place landed like a final period. She closed the cabinet with the same care she'd used to square the pages. I pulled the door shut behind me. The sun lifted a bright edge along the floor, and the lemon trees outside threw their steady shadows on the tile. A phone buzzed somewhere in my bag. I didn't check it. The driveway stones clicked under my shoes as I walked to my car. My hands were steady on the door handle. At the curb, I watched a cyclist pass, then a dog walker with 2 leashes and a pocket full of treats. A neighbor trimmed a hedge in slow, neat strokes. I sat in the driver's seat and pressed my forehead to the steering wheel for a second, not to pray or think, just to breathe evenly until the air matched the rhythm in my chest. I straightened, adjusted the mirror, and caught the small reflection of her porch behind me. Quiet, ordinary, nothing like a headline. I turned the key. The radio came up low with a traffic update and a reminder about heat advisories. I turned it off. The house stayed small in the mirror until the curve of the street took it out of view. At the bottom of the hill, a kid on a skateboard shot across the crosswalk, 1 foot pushing, 1 hand out for balance. I braked and held. He reached the other side, turned, and gave me a quick nod of thanks. I lifted 2 fingers off the wheel in return and rolled on. I didn't touch my bag until I reached my block. The phone buzzed again. I let it. The line between last night and this afternoon felt like a door that had closed without slamming. I parallel parked too close to the red paint and then fixed it because she'd noticed I liked order. The small things mattered again. On my stoop, I looked at the sky and the thin slice of plain trail cutting east. I listened to a neighbor's radio 2 floors up and the shouts from a pickup game on the street behind mine. My keys jangled while I found the right one. I stepped inside, set my bag on the table, and smoothed the strap with my thumb. Then I stood still, long enough to hear the old fridge hum and the sink drip once. I let it be. When I finally checked the phone, the screen lit my palm. 1 new text waited under a number with her name now saved. "Come as you are," it read. No entourage. A pause, then another line. "Let's do this right." I locked the phone and set it face down. My hand floated over the gray binder in my bag and rested there, not to hold it tight, only to know it was where I'd left it. Outside, a car alarm chirped and stopped. The hallway light clicked on with its usual delay. I went to the sink and washed the teacup I'd left there from the morning, soap squeaking, water running, motion simple and clean until the glass felt new. I set it to dry upside down. I didn't write anything. I didn't rehearse anything. I folded a towel, then folded it again. The day had weight, but it rested square. When the phone buzzed again across the table, I let it buzz out. I knew whose voice I wanted to hear next, and it would come when it was supposed to. For now, I had a promise in a safe, a binder on a chair, and the sound of my own breath landing where it belonged. Bells hit the morning like a metronome, steady and clean. St. Monica's doors stand open to the street, and the TV vans fill the curb like a second procession. I step inside with everyone else, lilies in every aisle, white ribbons tucked around the pew ends, programs stacked in neat fans. The cover says, "In loving memory of Eleanor Whitcomb." The ink glints when it catches the light. Deirdre holds a receiving line near the center aisle. She cries between smiles, turning her face slightly each time a phone lifts. Thomas stands beside her, whispering to a donor about continuing Eleanor's legacy, as if they're already in a boardroom. Brielle hovers under a shawl. A tiny black mic peeks out at her collarbone. A man with a camera hangs back, pretending to be respectful, lens up every time she turns her head. I take the 3rd pew back in the section labeled Friends of Family. No one sits close. I place my program on my lap and smooth the crease with 1 finger. Voices slip around me in little seams. "That's her, right? The school social worker? The rooftop one?" A hand lands lightly on the pew behind me. Principal Chen slides into the end seat on the aisle, gives one small nod that says, "I see you." Then he fixes his eyes on the altar like everyone else. The lights above are cool, not harsh. A choir hums scales behind the side door. Ushers float down the rows asking people to silence their phones. Per Ms. Whitcomb's instructions, Jonah says, his voice even, not loud, a brief public statement and bequest will be read. Deirdre's hand clamps onto Thomas's sleeve. I see it from the corner of my eye. Brielle's smile sits there, not quite attached, like she's waiting for a line. Jonah looks down at the page. He breathes once. To Ava Morales. The sound of my name clicks against stone and travels. Heads turn, phones lift. The choir goes silent without being told. My pulse stutters. I don't stand. I don't hide. I keep both hands on the program. For consistent integrity and service beyond any camera's reach, Jonah continues. He doesn't change his tone. He doesn't look at me. He reads like he does this for a living. Clean, careful, controlled. The pew creaks. Deirdre pales and finds the end of her handkerchief. Thomas locks his jaw, the muscles jumping once near his ear. Brielle stares at me like a ring light just snapped off in her face. "She manipulated my aunt," she bursts, voice too high for the room. The mic at her collateral catches every edge. Murmurs break like a wave along both sides of the nave. A deacon stands and lifts his palm for quiet. Half the cameras shift toward Brielle, then toward me. I stand but don't leave the pew. Eleanor chose fairness, I say. I hear my voice as if it's coming from somewhere cooler than I feel. The priest rings a small bell, the gentle kind used for cues. The choir holds their place. Jonah doesn't stop. He nods to an usher. The usher walks down the center aisle and turns into my row, carrying a small white envelope as if it's fragile. He places it in my hands. The front reads, Ava, Eleanor's cursive. I slide out the contents, donation slips, tiny receipts, a stack of thank you notes, little notes in the margins in Eleanor's neat hand, bus coats, breakfast week, storm day. It's not a performance, it's a ledger of kindness, years of my small things repeated and matched by hers. I feel someone move. Brielle's chair scrapes. She surges into the aisle, eyes red, face tight. Give that back. That's family business. Thank you for seeing what mattered. I step to the side so I don't block anyone. The choir begins again. The hymn comes back soft, like someone turning a radio dial up one notch. People settle. Jonah finishes the statement. All other matters around the estate remain under seal, as instructed by Miss Whitcomb. He closes the folio, sets the sealed packet back inside, and leaves the lectern. No bow, no extra breath. The priest resumes, his voice steady, reading from the next page of the order. A PR aide leans toward Deirdre and whispers. Deirdre doesn't answer. She stares at the altar and pretends she didn't hear. When the final prayer ends, an usher gestures for rows to exit. 2 lines form, one for the condolence train, one heading toward the doors. The line to the front is tidy and slow. Hugs, whispers, staged grief. The line to the doors pushes faster and louder. Microphones, questions, shoes thumping wood. I'm halfway down the steps when the press hits in a pack. Ava, did you know you'd be named? Ms. Morales, are you the primary beneficiary? Jonah is close enough that I can feel the shape of his shoulder near mine. We won't comment beyond the statement, he says, not to any one reporter and not to all of them either. It lands in the air like a policy. Deirdre moves toward a friendly camera just off the rope line. Her voice turns to satin. We are devastated by exploitation in a time of grief, she says. She looks past me as if I'm a post. Brielle lifts her chin and lets a tear sit on her cheek. We only want Eleanor's wishes honored, she says into the lens. The mic glints. The man behind her holds the camera steady, relief in his posture because the soundbite finally fits. Someone shouts my name again from the right. I keep moving toward the curb. Jonah steers the smallest amount, just enough for the two of us to move like one person. Flash after flash goes off. I don't hide my face. I don't pose. Thomas turns, face flushed, and throws his line. "We'll bury this in court." A dozen heads whip his way. A reporter repeats the word bury like they just found a title. I watch the way the lower thirds will right themselves. Jonah's jaw tightens and he angles us toward the street. At the curb, a black sedan waits with the back door cracked. Jonah covers the opening with his body while a boom mic dips and lifts above us like a fishing line. I hear one more to-the-camera question. "Ava, are you the secret heir?" I don't answer. I don't slow. We pause in the shade of a news van. Jonah faces me for the first time since the lectern. "Today was the preview," he says. "We litigate in rooms, not on steps." I nod once. I keep the envelope flat against my palm so it doesn't bend. It isn't a trophy. It isn't a shield. It's only proof. The choir's last chord rolls out through the open doors and drifts down the steps. It sits in the air briefly and then leaves like all sound does. A producer by the rope line yells toward the scrum, "Filing imminent! Undue influence!" The phrase jumps from mouth to mouth. Phones buzz in pockets and purses. Screens light up with push alerts. A sound operator confirms levels as if he's the one calling the hearing. Jonah holds the car door. "Eyes forward," he says. I give the church one last look. Deirdre stands at the top of the steps with a composed smile that could pass for grace if you didn't know her. Brielle's jaw is locked. Her hands sit empty, fingers curled tight around air. Thomas talks to a camera with his elbows wide, like he's still the tallest man in an unfinished house. Principal Chen leans against the side rail, notepad tucked under his arm, face neutral enough to keep his job. He meets my eyes for half a second and nods once more. It lands like an anchor. I sit. Jonah closes the door. The glass cuts the noise down to a muffled press of sound. For a beat, I can still see hands rising with microphones, the arch of the church framed over their heads, white lilies bright in the first row through the open doors. The car pulls from the curb into traffic. I don't look back again. They come at me before I clear the bottom step. "Ava, how much did she leave you?" a tabloid guy yells, arm thrust across the rope line. I don't break stride. Jonah doesn't either. "Eyes forward," he says, low, like we practiced. We walk. We don't react. The marble throws heat back at our legs. My gray folder warms in my grip. Reporters stack along both railings, phones up, lenses out. The question repeated in new costumes. "How much? Did you push her? Did you isolate her?" I keep pace with Jonah's slow rhythm. 4 steps, breath, 4 more. Inside, the doors hush the noise to a dull hum, and the cold air punches through my shirt. The courtroom smells like paper and lemon polish. The gallery's full, press badges, whispering, the scratch of pens. Across the aisle, the Parkers arrange themselves like a photo. Deirdre in navy silk with a tidy brooch. Brielle in black lace with her hair glass straight. Thomas tan and still as a statue. Their lawyer, Victor Ames, spreads thick binders like he's setting a dinner service. Judge Morales sits high, neutral, eyes already tired. Jonah lines up our stack. The signed will, the competency letter, a sealed affidavit. He doesn't look at me, just taps his index finger twice on the folio as the clerk calls the case. Victor stands first. His voice is smooth. "Your Honor, this is not about greed. It's about manipulation, a vulnerable elder, a social worker who exploited sympathy and proximity. We intend to prove Ms. Morales engineered influence, slowly, deliberately, against her own family." He turns just enough to throw me a glance like a headline. Deirdre studies the table grain. Brielle dabs a tear without smudging her eyeliner. Thomas flexes a hand once on his knee, then places it carefully back. Jonah rises but doesn't move from our table. No show. "Eleanor Whitcomb built an empire," he says. "She was no one's victim." The plaintiff's theory collapses under one truth. Ms. Whitcomb initiated every act, documented it, and anticipated this accusation. He nods to the bench. We proceed on facts. Proceed, the judge says. The lights dim a notch and a monitor wakes. Victor clicks through photos, Eleanor and me with cups in a sunroom, at a garden table, a still frame from a signing. Each image gets a caption in his tone. Notice the proximity. Notice her posture of deference. Note that this was weeks after a supposed falling out with her niece. Every click pricks like a pin. Brielle sniffles on cue. Deirdre passes tissue with a small pat. Thomas leans forward, performs concern. The gallery murmurs like a low fan. Enough, the judge says, and the whispering shuts off. Counsel? Jonah stands as if he's been standing all morning. Let's talk about proximity, he says. You see her at a table? That's tea. You see her garden? That's where she met everyone, investors, port managers, school staff. Consistency isn't coercion. He clicks. The new slide is a letterhead with a signature. Cognitive evaluation by Dr. Liang. Alert, oriented, capable of independent judgment. Another click. A short video fills the screen, tinny audio through ceiling speakers. Eleanor sits straight at a desk, papers neat, glasses low. I initiated this, she says. No one asked me to. I know why. The room gasps like it found air then lost it. Judge Morales leans forward, one finger up. The bailiff rewinds, plays it again. Same sentence, same steady eyes. Admitted, the judge says, and notes something without looking up. Victor calls me. My name sounds strange under oath. I cross to the witness chair, palm the worn rail, sit. The clerk swears me in. My mouth tastes like paper dust. Victor steps close, but not too close. That part's for the jury rooms we don't have. Ms. Morales, when did you first meet Ms. Whitcomb? At my mother's birthday party, I say. She called me afterward. So she sought you out? She did. You never felt she was confused or isolated? She was the most deliberate person I've met. He tilts his head. Did you consider she might have been compensating for guilt? Objection, Jonah says. Speculative.
Sustained, Judge Morales says. Ask a question tied to evidence, Mr. Ames.
Victor smiles with half his mouth. He switches. You visited her often? When she asked. You accepted gifts? No. Money? No. Travel? No. He waits, hoping I'll fill the pause. I don't. He tries again. You never asked about her estate? Never. He turns away as if bored, then snaps back. So why you? The witness already answered, Jonah says. The judge lifts a hand. She can answer once more. I look at the judge, not the row of family faces. Maybe because I never asked, I say. She chose me because I never asked. The pens stop for a beat. I hear the clock again. Victor's smile tightens like a knot. No further questions. Jonah rises. Your Honor, Exhibit D. The monitor shows columns and yellow highlights. He names them like he's reading a grocery list. Image Elevate LLC, 100A Light LLC, NARA 5,000. Narrative Growth Consulting, 70,000. Post-launch Brand Sync, 42,000. He looks up at the judge. All dated the week of Miss Whitcomb's funeral. All paid from the Brielle Parker Foundation. These were memorial donations, pledged to community programs that do not exist. The gallery buzzes. Deirdre's pen stills. Brielle's chin lifts like she can hold the numbers off with posture. Thomas shifts in his chair, thigh muscle jumping once. Victor adjusts his tie, then doesn't object. Jonah doesn't fill the silence. He just turns to me again. Ms. Morales, did Ms. Whitcomb ever offer money in exchange for your loyalty? Never. He nods. Nothing further. Victor calls Thomas. The bailiff swears him in. Thomas squares his shoulders and answers in a voice he uses for bids and groundbreakings. We disagreed about management, not values. Jonah stands before Victor can sit. You mean when she refused to underwrite your Newport expansion? That has nothing to do with her estate, Thomas snaps. His eyes flash toward Deirdre like a check-in, then away. Jonah holds up a printout and passes it to the clerk. Subject line, family leverage, use Deirdre. The clerk brings it to the judge.
He sits. The hum of the lights returns. The judge removes his glasses and rubs the bridge of his nose. This court finds the will valid. The evidence shows Ms. Whitcomb acted with full mental capacity and deliberate choice. Allegations of undue influence are unfounded. The will stands. It's quiet for half a second. Then sound rushes back. Deirdre's sharp inhale, Brielle's hand to her mouth, Thomas's mutter that dies in his throat. Reporters push for the aisle. The clerk bangs a gavel. Jonah's pen slides into his pocket like a pin closing a bag. Out in the hallway, noise folds over us again. Cameras blink and pop as if the building is a storm. Jonah leans in. Don't look back. She doesn't deserve it! Brielle's voice slices behind us. She conned an old woman! I stop and turn just enough so my words don't look like I'm fleeing. Eleanor thought otherwise, I say. I don't raise my voice. Security steps in between the lines. Ava, how does it feel to win? Someone asks, shoving a mic toward my chin. Is this vindication? This isn't a win, I say. It's what was right. We move again. The elevator doors take too long. The metal reflects a smear of faces and foam windscreens. When the doors open, we slide inside with two strangers who stare at their shoes. The ride down is a long breath. The front steps are worse. The crowd has doubled. Microphones fill the air like reeds. Jonah keeps me in a lane the deputy carved with a forearm. They'll appeal through the press first, he says, barely moving his lips. Then through the law. We're not done, Deirdre says from behind a screen of cameras. Her voice is level and low. She points her face toward a friendly outlet and repeats it. We're not done. Noted, Jonah says, mostly to me. She means it. Headlines flicker on phones as we pass. Court upholds Whitcomb will. Family outraged. A boom pole dips too close and clips my shoulder. The handler yanks it back with a muttered apology. Jonah opens the car door, one hand on the frame, his other palm up like a small bridge. Thank you, I say, climbing in. He circles around and slides into the driver's seat while a cameraman... At the next light, Jonah glances over. You did exactly what you needed to do, he says. Nothing more. I nod once. The folder's edge is soft where my thumb presses it. He merges onto the avenue and leaves the marble and microphones behind. The day, stubborn as ever, keeps going. The push alert hits before the coffee cools. Court upholds Whitcomb will. I let out a small breath and lift the mug. Another alert slides in on top of it like a slap. School counselor cons Port matriarch. I freeze. The screen fills with the worst version of me. Mid-blink, harsh flash from the rooftop. The caption calls me a thief. A stitched explain video misquotes the judge and splices Eleanor's signing clip so it sounds like doubt. Comments stack faster than I can scroll. I set the laptop flat, palms on either side, and try to slow my breathing. A text from an unknown number lights the phone. Return what you stole. Block. My ring chimes. The app shows a stranger recording my door. I don't open it. I silence everything and flip the phone face down. The apartment is suddenly too quiet. I leave the coffee untouched. By 9, the internet has a name for me. #GreedCounselor. Then Aunt Grifter. Fake DMs appear with fonts that don't match any phone I've owned. A wellness friend of Brielle's, lashes wet, voice shaking, posts a story about protecting elders from predators. A Reddit thread nails down a timeline that never happened and pins it like it's science. I report one docs tweet. The platform replies, no violation.
A blue check gossip account posts exclusive texts that I've never typed. A micro podcast drops 12 angry minutes before lunch. My fingers hover over reply. I hear Jonah's rule in my head. We don't feed fire. I close the window. Group chat bubbles that used to move for me sit still. Scene glows under a message I sent yesterday. Someone posts a split image, Betrayal crying in church and me walking a hallway with Jonah. The caption asks which one looks like family. Please come in, HR says when I answer the call. The office smells like toner and lemon cleaner. Fluorescents buzz. A union steward sits to my left, quiet.
Back home, I try to pay rent. Transaction declined. Customer service meets me with a script. Your account is under review due to an anonymous fraud tip. There's no fraud, I say. We'll escalate, the voice replies. My credit card blocks for unusual activity, autopay bounces for the electric bill, and an email warns of service interruption pending. I count cash in a jar, enough for groceries, not rent. I text my landlord, bank issue, I'm resolving it. The message shows red and nothing else. The buzzer goes off downstairs. I don't let anyone in. I put my last 20 in an envelope labeled Essentials and tuck it into a drawer. News vans idle at the curb. A neighbor drops a pan and hushes herself when I walk past her door. 2 tenants in the hallway stop mid-whisper when my lock clicks. Someone slides a flyer under my door. Elder Abuse Hotline. The faucet drips, slow and mean. I sit on the kitchen floor with my back against the cabinet and listen to the drip, count my breath. I call a friend. Voicemail. I text another. The typing bubble appears and disappears. The building WhatsApp posts the smear article with FYI. I turn the faucet off just to prove I can control one thing. The silence that follows is louder. I stand by, holding the counter with both hands, open the window for air, and catch the sound of a reporter outside counting down. 3, 2. I shut the blinds and turn off the overhead light. I try one deep breath, then another. My hand still shakes. I reach for tea and stop halfway. I open the laptop and type a reply thread. Delete. Type a single line in notes. Facts will be filed, not performed. Delete. I turn on the radio to drown out the hallway. A talk show laughs through my name. I shut it off. The phone buzzes with an unknown number. Decline. The intercom buzzes. I stay still. Then 3 slow knocks at my door. I check the peephole. The hallway is empty, only the hum of the security light. On the floor, a plain brown envelope waits like a dare. No return address. I wait one more beat, listening. Nothing. I pick it up with 2 fingers and break the seal. At the table, I lay out clipped stacks of receipts, cover sheet on top, Whitcomb Family Fund, vendor routing. Handwritten block letters trace arrows between accounts, dates, totals. Vendor names circled, Legacy Sphere Media, Narrative Rehab, Storyline Partners. A right-hand column labeled Week of Funeral shows numbers in red. At the back, a small USB drive is taped under clear film. A sticky note says, Follow the PR vendor trail. I boot my old laptop and slide the USB in. One file waits. I double-click. Night footage fills the screen, shaky and close. A backyard I know from family cookouts. Brielle stands by a metal fire bowl in leggings and a hoodie, feeding paper stacks into the flames like it's leg day. She laughs once, quick and proud. They'll never trace this. Thomas's voice floats from off-camera. Keep going. The camera catches a corner of letterhead as a page bends from her fingers to the fire. I pause and rewind until I can read it. Narrative Rehab, Scope of Work. The time code in the corner matches the week in the ledger. I screenshot the frame and set the laptop gently on the table. My hands find the edge and stay there until the tremor leaves. I call Jonah. He picks up on the first ring. Feld. I have something, I say. Ledgers. A video. Anonymous delivery. Touch nothing else, he says. I'm 20 minutes out. A text arrives. Do not forward. Do not upload. Chain of custody starts on arrival. I line the receipts in rows and step back. I take one wide photo from above and place the phone face down. I unlock the front door and wedge a chair to keep it open. 2 glasses of water on the counter, a legal pad beside the envelope. I turn off Wi-Fi and Bluetooth and wait standing. The camera in the hallway catches Jonah and an investigator stepping out of the elevator. Jonah's tie is straight, his face calm. The investigator turns on a body cam. A beep confirms the recording. "Time and date," he says. "Location, Koreatown, Los Angeles."
I state my name. I describe the knocks, the empty hallway, the envelope on the floor. Jonah photographs each page front and back, writing numbers on small labels and placing them in the corner of every stack. The investigator logs Exhibit Set A, ledgers. Exhibit B, USB. He reads serial numbers aloud. I sign a receipt as finder. Jonah signs as receiver. He slips the USB into a tamper-evident bag, seals it, and we both initial across the tape. "We'll assume authenticity will be challenged," Jonah says. "We'll meet it." The investigator pauses the clip on a wide frame and notes the fence style, the planter shape, the model of the fire bowl, the location of the porch light. "Distinctive features," he says. "Courier in 10, Jonah says into his phone. "Duplicate sets to vault." He looks up at me. "Do we go public?" I shake my head. "You tell me." We preserve. Then we notify. He dictates from my kitchen table like it's a conference room. Preservation letters to banks, PR vendors, and the Parker Foundation. The investigator types. A shared doc populates with names and addresses pulled from the ledgers. Jonah drafts the letters, attaches scans, and CCS the DA intake address. He calls a contact at the AG's office and says, "Evidence inbound, chain intact." The investigator captures 3 frames of Brielle's face in the firelight and logs the time code. "Ava," Jonah says, "you'll receive a formal intake email. Reply with, 'Available to cooperate.' Nothing more." I nod. When the email arrives, I type exactly that and hit send. "No statements," he adds. "If pressed, I'm cooperating with authorities, period." He asks me to forward the bank freeze notices for a separate complaint. I send the PDFs. He schedules a fingerprint-safe pickup for the physical envelope. He hands me a copy of the statement I just gave and asks me to read it. I do. He closes his laptop and snaps the latches on his briefcase. The evidence bag rests inside, sealed and dull under the lamp. They leave. The hallway returns to its low, ordinary hum. I stand at the counter and let my hands go flat again until the air feels normal. I tape a small note inside a cabinet where no one will see it. Document. Don't duel. I write a short email to Principal Chen. I'm available to clarify record, and send it. I fill a pot, rinse rice, and make a small dinner. I eat standing up. I wash the bowl and dry it and set it upside down. Outside, a reporter rehearses a live hit. Sources say, my window screen sends his words back to him softer. I lift the blinds 2 inches. Light finds the back of the couch. The laptop goes off and into a drawer. I lock it. I slide the empty brown envelope into a zip bag and write, outer, source, on the label. Downstairs, the bodega owner nods when I hand over money for milk. He tucks a banana into the bag without looking at me and says, on the house. An older neighbor passes and mutters, don't let them scare you, without breaking stride. Someone taped a tabloid cover to the lobby board with my face circled in red. Another tenant walks by, tears it down, and keeps going like he was taking out recycling. A van pulls away from the curb. Another takes its place. On the bus bench, 2 teens argue over whether the backyard in the clip is Brielle's. That's her yard, one says. I pull my hood up and pass, quiet. A cyclist cuts too close and breathes, thief, like it's a secret. I don't turn. My key settles in the lock on the first try. Inside, I open my private log and type timestamps and actions. Arrival of envelope, call to counsel, chain of custody, letters sent. I delete a draft reply that begins with my name. By evening, the wall glows. I turn on the TV without sound. The ticker runs under the anchor's calm mouth. New words slide across the bottom and hold. D.A. Reviewing Parker. P.R. Money evidence. I sit up straighter. No smile. No fist pump. The phone buzzes with an email receipt.
Materials received. Under review. Another buzz follows with a new unknown number. I let it go to voicemail. A neighbor's TV in the hall echoes the same line. Reviewing. Outside, a van pulls away and no one slides in to replace it. I exhale, slow. The faucet isn't dripping anymore. I flip the phone to Do Not Disturb and leave it face down. On the table, the evidence receipt sits beside the empty brown sleeve, both square under the lamp like clean place settings. The crawl at the bottom of the screen repeats the same words again. Under review. I hold my posture and let the words do the work. Morning light slid in through the high windows and pooled on the folding chairs. The HVAC rattled like an old bus warming up before dawn. 3 folders sat on the table in front of me. Exhibit A, Exhibit B, Exhibit C. Lined up like stoplights I refused to run. Jonah checked his legal pad, looked at me, and kept it simple. 3 points, no detours. I rubbed my palms once on the edge of the podium, squared my shoulders, and watched Principal Chen slip into the back row. No wave, no smile. Just the kind of steady presence that keeps a room honest. A youth group rolled a wobbly projector stand to center. The screen blinked "Ready" in big blue letters. 2 security staffers took spots by the side doors. Not a show of force, just a reminder that the doors worked both ways. The Parkers' PR wasn't visible, but 2 friendly bloggers hovered near the aisle, phones already raised as if the event had started without me. I stepped to the mic before my nerves could. I'm here to show facts, not fight. No applause. I lifted my hand a few inches, palm down, like you calm a class before morning announcements. I didn't ask for money. I didn't chase a legacy. While lies spread, kids lost their counselor. That matters most. Silence settled, tight but focused. Jonah stood off my shoulder, pen-capped, watching like a metronome with eyes. I slid Exhibit A to the edge of the table, face up. We submitted documents to authorities this morning. Chain of custody has been preserved. We'll present those documents now, take 5 questions, then stop. I opened Exhibit A. The pages were thick and clean. Invoices, wire confirmations, line items punched with dates that still smelled like lilies and funeral cards. Payments routed from the Parker Family Foundation during funeral week, I said. The projector threw the vendor names against the wall. Legacy Sphere Media, Narrative Rehab, Storyline Partners. Category codes glowed beneath. Public Image Management, Narrative Control, Brand Sync. A ledger page followed, arrows drawn from memorial donations to vendor accounts. I didn't raise my voice. I didn't need to. This sheet traces dates to the week Eleanor was buried. I slid certified copies into a clear tray labeled Press Review Supervised. Not originals, Jonah added. Certified duplicates only. A reporter in a denim jacket pushed her mic up like a hand in class. Are you accusing them of fraud? I'm showing transactions, I said. Agencies will define the rest. Why should anyone believe you now? A blogger called from the aisle. Evidence is submitted, Jonah answered. We won't debate here. I returned to the binder. My hands didn't shake. A volunteer in a yellow lanyard gently nudged a camera back to the taped line on the floor. I reset the room with a breath. 3 exhibits, then closed. I announced Exhibit B. Short clip. Verified chain of custody. The investigator's 1-page log filled the screen. Time, date, intake steps. The video rolled without sound for 2 seconds, then the audio caught up. Brielle stood in a backyard in athleisure, hair tied high, flames licking the rim of a metal fire bowl. She fed a stack of paper into the heat like it owed her something. They'll never trace this, she said. Thomas's voice came from off camera, flat, tired, certain. Keep going. Jonah tapped the spacebar and froze the frame as a corner of letterhead flashed on the screen. Narrative Rehab, Scope of Work. I read the timestamp out loud and pointed to the ledger dates from Exhibit A. The clip has been surrendered. We are showing a forensic copy. Independent lab engaged for authentication, Jonah added. The room changed shape. Phones rose like small shields. I let the frame sit,
No replay, no slow motion. The stillness did the work. "Did you record this?" someone asked. "No, it was delivered anonymously." "Why show it publicly?" "Because students, donors, and this city deserve clarity." "Are you calling them criminals?" "I'm calling them documented."
Jonah closed the mic loop before it turned into a scrum. "We won't characterize, agencies will." I placed Exhibit B aside and opened Exhibit C. This one I handled like a classroom trophy you don't brag about, because it belongs to everyone who made it possible. My small donations sat in a thin stack stapled to Eleanor's matching gifts. In the margins, her neat notes marched down the years: bus coats, breakfast week, storm day. "She matched what I gave," I said. "She saw what mattered." One last card lay at the bottom, cream stock with a blue pen line in her handwriting. "Build, don't burn." Somewhere near the aisle, a camera rig lowered an inch. "This is what she honored," I said, "not me." The work, I slid the bundle into the clear tray. Supervised review only. Then I stepped back from the mic half a pace and let the paper speak. 5 questions, I said. "Did you ever ask for money?" a reporter asked. "Never, not once." "Will you sue for defamation?" "Not today, evidence first." "Did Eleanor warn you about backlash?" "She trusted facts." "Are you the sole beneficiary?" "The will speaks." "What do you want right now?" "My student's safe." "That's 5, Jonah said. He didn't raise his voice. He didn't need to. A blogger tried to launch a 6th. Security held the line with posture, not hands. I gathered my notes and left the tray for supervised inspection. A district spokesperson walked to the mic. "LAUSD board meets tonight on her status." She glanced down at her paper. "We confirm her record is clean. No misconduct findings." A community pastor stepped up, collar tight against the heat. "Donors deserve transparency on memorial funds," he said. A small clap rose and died in 3 beats, the way polite people show they heard you without making themselves the show. We thanked the venue. Volunteers bent to the cords, coil wrapping with the care you use when you want to be invited back. Jonah signed 2 media request forms for post-event document access and logged certified copy checkouts with timeout and time-in blanks. In the side hallway, I washed my hands in a staff sink until the water went from too hot to just right. A volunteer passed me a paper cup. "You did fun." "We won't litigate at a microphone," Jonah added, same tone, same spine. "Betrayal says the video's fake," a stringer called. "Then she'll welcome a forensic review," Jonah said. A neighbor from my building slipped past the edge of the crowd and flashed a small thumbs up like he was handing me a bandage. A donor with a canvas tote asked where to read the exhibits. "Public copies after agencies acknowledge receipt," Jonah said. We stepped into a sliver of shade beside a jacaranda and let our breathing match the breeze. In the parked sedan, Jonah's laptop glowed with the DA's inbox. He attached cover letters and chain of custody logs and typed with the clean rhythm of someone who knows process is safety. The investigator texted a secure link to the lab with the video stills and the original file hash. Courier receipts were scanned, time-stamped, names spelled correctly. I texted one line to my union rep. Presented evidence, cooperating. Principal Chen replied with a screenshot of the board agenda item, employment status review. Jonah drafted a 2-sentence media note. Documents presented, no further comment, and scheduled it for 15 minutes later. We set a 24-hour quiet window, no interviews, no panels. I forwarded bank freeze notices to Jonah. He typed one word back, millet. We sat for 30 seconds without saying anything. The AC hummed. A bus exhaled at the corner and pulled away. Then every phone on the block buzzed at once. "District Attorney reviewing Parker PR money evidence," the crawl read. A second alert followed with the kind of language that changes posture. "DA requests preservation from listed vendors and Parker Foundation." You could watch the reporters pivot like a flock and run back to their vans. A blogger said, "Well, that just moved," as if she could taste the algorithm in her mouth.
I looked straight ahead. No smile, no gloat, just breath. "That's the system waking up," Jonah said under his. I stepped off the curb. The noise fell one notch, like someone had turned a dial and discovered a setting between loud and louder. My phone buzzed again. A parent. "My son asks if you're coming back." I typed, "Soon, I hope." We didn't circle back to the podium. We didn't offer a victory quote.
The first sound in the new space is the marker squeak. Whiteboard to concrete. It cuts through the echo like a starter pistol. I hold the cap in my teeth and draw the lobby map. Intake, triage, casework, grants. Arrows in tape follow my lines across the floor. Fresh coffee steams on a folding table. Someone set the pot too hot and it smells a little burnt. Jonah rolls a blueprint out on 2 sawhorses and taps the corners flat with his palm. "We move slow to move right," I say. "No shortcuts." "Nobody's racing," he answers, and hands me a roll of painter's tape. A volunteer pushes in a dolly stacked with banker boxes. She reads the handwritten labels as she parks them. Intake, policy, therapy supplies. "Perfect," I tell her. "Policy first." We hang the hand-painted motto behind the desk: protect, prove, provide, and I level the frame with 2 quick nudges. When I flip the switch on the wall lamps, the room softens. The fluorescent glare quiets. It feels like a place where you can talk without shouting. Governance comes next. We crowd around the copy table while the printer spits out our 1-page guardrails. 70% programs, 30% ops, I read aloud. Quarterly independent audits. 2 signatures on every grant. No single-person approvals. Jonah adds, Board Finance Committee is outside majority. I staple the dignity, boundaries, proof sheet above every workstation and make everyone initial by their name. Any gift over $250 gets logged publicly by Friday, I say. We don't stall. The whistleblower poster goes up in the break area. Third-party inbox, Jonah says. We won't read it unless it's escalated through the channel. Good, I reply. We're not our own referee. By noon, the router blinks steady, and the intake form goes live. We kept it simple. Who's at risk? What's the pressure? Where to reach you safely? No long stories, no fishing. A soft ping announces the first test submission. I set an auto-reply to promise we'll contact them within 48 hours, then block calendar windows so no meeting can steal that time. Dry run, I call. We take scripts and walk the path. Intake to triage. Triage to casework. Casework to the grants desk where a 2-signature stamp sits next to a timestamp clock bought from a closing office store. We approve motel nights, bus cards, prepaid phones, and 2 hours with a legal aid attorney who agrees to hold time blocks for us on Mondays and Fridays. Our partner therapist schedules 3 trauma intakes before dinner. On the dashboard, a single dot turns green. Resolved. Timestamp public. There's one short clap around the room and then chairs roll back to the desks. I email each referrer a thank you with an anonymized case number they can use to check progress. No stories, just proof. Partnerships build faster when we show our homework. We draft MOUs with school districts, hospital ERs, and the County Child Protection Unit. The ER adopts a code, Bridge Blue, to flag suspected financial coercion of minors in triage. A community credit union waives holds for emergency deposits from us. A CPS liaison adds our number to the weekend roster. We share the dashboard template with 2 shelters and a legal clinic. Copy it, I write. Don't credit us. Just use it. Jonah reads every clause. Plain English, he says, crossing out a paragraph. No riddles. No one should need a lawyer to obey a privacy rule. The money conversation lands at the board table over takeout soups and too many spreadsheets. One expensive relocation could empty a week's budget. 5 smaller interventions would stabilize 5 families. Jonah argues the case for a deep save. I argue for trust built through consistency. We meet in the middle. Hybrid, I say. 1 high-cost emergency a month, protected reserve, and steady small grants we can promise without drama. We add a sliding cap. No single case over 12% of monthly program spend without a board vote. Disbursements publish as anonymized line items by Friday. Category, amount, purpose. The finance lead reconciles receipts each night. Red flags ping Jonah and me in the same moment so nothing hides behind anyone. Midweek, a donor offers restricted money for PR cleanup. The email is polite, the check is big, and the condition is poison. I read the refusal to the staff huddle. We build lives, not images. The team nods. Culture set. Our first site visit is small and solid. The reading corner at a partner shelter needs stock. We bring paperbacks, blankets, and snacks. A kid in a too-thin hoodie holds up a crayon drawing of a blue coat. It fits. Inside the warehouse, the hum of work fills the air. Keyboard chatter, the printer chuff, a bell at the front desk when someone walks in. I set up a quiet room with a soft lamp and a noise machine. We carve out 2 hours off the phones for each person daily. After-hours policy kicks in at 7. Emergencies route to on-call only. A volunteer leaves a sticky note on my monitor. Thanks for not making us heroic. I stick it on the inside of my notebook. On Friday, the public dashboard goes live. Cases opened, cases closed, average time to contact. We add a small error log to the bottom. Form outage 22 minutes, 5 forms resent. Donors write, thanks for the clarity. A few ask for photos. We send the policy again. A watchdog blog posts a fair headline about early metrics and zero PR spend. The comments section stays open. We publish the audit firm and the date. When a reporter asks for a tour, we offer a process briefing instead. In the records room, we keep copies of Eleanor's old notes. On one memo pad, her handwriting says, "Don't rescue, reinforce." I tape that line inside the supply closet where only staff will see it. We add a small stainless plaque by the break room. Founder in spirit. No portrait, just words. A brand new volunteer asks who she was. She trusted the work, I answer. Jonah sets a single tulip in a jar under the plaque and says nothing. I send an all-staff note. The standard is the standard. From then on, when a case hits every requirement with no corners cut, someone tags it Whitcomb in the margin. Quiet shorthand for done right. We fix the rhythm before it breaks people. HR runs an anonymous survey titled, What's Quietly Breaking? We swap 2 wobbly chairs and replace cold bulbs. The therapist sets a monthly debrief, optional, private. The wins we won't post jar on the break table fills with slips. Safe couch found. Bus pass got a kid to a court date. Grandma learned how to freeze her bank account. I bring sandwiches at 8. Nobody argues about bread types. A week in, a donor threatens to pull funding unless we highlight impact with faces. I print out our media policy. No trophies, only lives, and hand it to them with a thank you for their time. They walk. The inbox calms afterward. The work speeds up. At the board, we set targets we can measure. Red tags contacted inside 24 hours, all others inside 48. We lock 3 months of operating cash in a reserve and require a board vote to touch it. We approve a microgrants pilot through school social workers with tight controls and clear reporting. We greenlight a pro bono network for guardianship challenges and choose 1 deep case for the month. Relocation across state lines with a legal wraparound. We trim the decor line from the budget and move it to emergency housing. The risk register hangs on the wall with names and dates next to each mitigation, so nothing floats. I close the meeting with 1 line. Keep us boring and effective. Before sunrise the next day, I drive to Lakewood Cemetery with tulips and a small card. I lay the flowers by a bronze plaque and speak 1 sentence. You started it. No camera, no company, no post. On the way back, I send a voice memo to Jonah. Audit checklist looks good. Add vendor rotation. He replies with a thumbs up and budget posted on Friday. Back at the office, the reception bell dings twice and I pour coffee for the intake lead. We review the red tags. A school nurse texts, family found a safe couch for the weekend. Thank you. I text back, got it logged, keep us updated. By evening, the lamps warm the room again. The hand-painted motto glows behind the desk. I wipe down the counters, stack the volunteer packets, and check the dashboard 1 last time. Numbers steady. Response time under the promise. The printer sleeps, the intercom crackles. Visitor at the gate, security says. She identifies as Betrayal Parker. The room stills. I glance at the plaque by the door. Dignity, boundaries, proof, and nod once. Phones in pouches, I say to security. Policy applies to everyone. Copy, the guard answers. The exterior lock clicks once and holds, waiting. I slide a blank intake and volunteer packet to the edge of the desk and uncap a pen. Jonah's text lights my screen. 5 minutes out. I steady my hands on the counter and breathe like I do before the morning bus line. Outside, the river wind shifts the street banner on the post. The nylon rope taps the pole, regular and calm. Inside, the lamps hum. The buzzer sounds again, longer this time, a stretched note that fills the room and sits there, patient, while the door waits for yes or no. The intercom buzzed. Visitor identifies as Betrayal Parker. I looked at the plaque above the reception desk. Dignity, boundaries, proof, and pressed the button. Phones in pouches. No filming. Policy applies to everyone. Copy, security answered. The lockboxes clicked open. The consent sign glowed on the wall. I set a blank intake/volunteer packet on the counter and uncapped a pen. The lobby lamps threw a warm circle over the desk. Outside the glass, the river turned from gray to dark. Brielle stepped in, thinner than I remembered, eyes rimmed red, an envelope squeezed in her hands. I kept the desk between us. Open stance, clear distance. My phone, she said. She placed it on the tray. Staff slid it into a gray pouch, sealed the snap, and logged the time. Our cameras record video only, I said, nodding toward the small red light. Audio off, compliance notice posted. She took that in with a small nod. No excuses, no chatter. You step in under those, I pointed to the wall words again. I understand, she said. Her voice barely cleared her throat. Visitor rules, I read. 12 lines, no wiggle. Any media coordination? None. Say out loud, no recording, no hidden devices. No recording, no devices, she said. Security logged her escort status and access limits. I opened the side gate. The door shut soft behind us. The room held its hush. She laid the wrinkled envelope on the counter and slid it forward. I didn't touch it. What do you need? I asked. Her mouth twitched. Work, she said, and a way to make it right. Talk straight. She lifted her chin. The gloss and posturing were gone. I burned files. I lied to press. I hurt you because I wanted the story to be mine. A few feet behind her, our intake lead shifted her weight and looked down at the clipboard. No one jumped in. We let the words sit where they fell. I pulled a stapled sheet from a drawer and placed it between us. Conditions of entry and rehabilitation track, I said, steady as the printer at my elbow. I'll read them aloud. We confirm line by line. She nodded. Written confession addressed to investigators. Notarized within 48 hours? Yes. Full cooperation with the DA. No destruction of records. Disclose where anything is stored. Yes. No contact with Thomas or Deirdre on site. No relays through third parties. Yes. No social posts about the org, clients, space, or staff. Ever. Yes. Role is evening volunteer. Intake support, storage, playroom cleanup. Yes. 90-day probation. After that, minimum wage nights if retained. Yes. Restricted access. No client files, no media rooms, no donor briefings. Yes. 1 strike for boundary violations. 2 strikes, ends placement. She swallowed. I understand. These are not favors, I said. These are guardrails. I accept. Our intake lead printed a confession draft with a time-stamped header. We read the lines to her. She signed. The intake lead signed. I signed. We scanned the document into Case Internal Rehabilitation BP001 and read the checksum aloud as it logged. Jonah pushed through the inner door, removed his glasses, and read the clauses himself. Notary within 48, he said, or this ends. Understood, Brielle said. Security added her badge to the board. VISEVENINGBP with a red stripe. IT flagged her profile for restricted zones.
The digital copy went to the evidence folder with limited permissions. Our courier service pinged a window for notarized delivery. I handed her a paper receipt. She slid it into a clear sleeve with careful fingers. "Work starts now," I said. I gave her nitrile gloves and a cloth lanyard labeled Intake/Storage. "Sort coats. Rebox returns. Wipe the play tables when you're done." "I can help with media," she began. "You don't get microphones where you burned paper," I said even. She nodded. "Understood." The intake bell chimed. "Warm coat, size 6 to 7, the coordinator called. Brielle lifted 2 bins and moved to the storage room. No swing in her step. No sigh for sympathy. Just the sound of hangers and the rustle of winter nylon. Fluorescents hummed in storage. Bins were labeled by size and season. She sorted sleeves, checked zippers, stacked by fit. "Where do I log defects?" she asked. "Clipboard. Damaged. Repair or recycle," I said. She marked the boxes and initialed small and neat. A volunteer offered help. She shook her head. "I've got it." I watched from the doorway for a minute, then let her keep the pace. The coordinator scribbled 2 quick notes. "On task. Followed directions." A timer beeped on the wall. "Take 5, someone called. "I'm okay," she said, still folding. "Take 5, I said again, tapping the timer. She stepped back, drank water, came back with the same steady hands. The bell chimed again. "Size 7, the coordinator called. "Navy if we have it." A boy in a thin t-shirt stood by the intake table, trying not to shiver. Brielle brought the navy parka and knelt so they were eye level. "Try this," she said, guiding his arms through the sleeves. The zipper snagged. Her hands shook once. She tried again, slower. The teeth met. She lifted the hood an inch without touching his head. He pressed his face into the collar and breathed in. "It's warm," he said. "Yeah," she answered, blinking hard. "It is." She stepped back so he could see himself in the mirror. The coordinator logged the entry. Coat issued, 7 Navy, verified fit. At the end of the shift, Brielle returned the lanyard and laid her checklist on the counter. The coordinator's signature sat blue at the bottom. "On time," I said. "Followed rules. No phone. Respectful." She held my eyes, waiting. "Show up tomorrow," I said. "Same station. Same rules." "I will," she said. She didn't ask for a ride. She didn't ask for forgiveness. We filed the checklist. I scheduled a notarization window and printed the address. Jonah emailed the DA. Confession draft received. Notarized copy pending. HR added rehabilitation status active to her restricted profile. Security walked her to the door, handed her the sealed phone pouch, and watched her open it outside. Policy held.
I uploaded the draft to the secure portal and saved the receipt. Our investigator called to confirm a visit to collect any remaining material from previous storage spots. IT tightened her profile. No case notes, no donor CRM, no dashboards. The front desk updated the visitor board with a red block next to her name. Escort required at all times. I emailed our insurer to confirm supervised volunteer coverage. Compliance came back with a green check. Finance set her pay at 0 during probation and reminded the team about legally required meal breaks. Facilities scheduled a deep clean of storage for the morning and cross-checked inventory counts. Legal dropped a no media stipulation in my inbox for her to sign tomorrow. We circled by the supply sink for a quick huddle. "We don't erase harm here," I said. "We supervise it." Heads nodded. Someone taped a printed line above the faucet. "Integrity is a full-time job." The intake lead flagged one concern about client triggers, so we adjusted shifts to keep sensitive cases buffered from the lobby. We paired Brielle with staff who could redirect without heat. The quiet room stayed open. No one used it. We reminded each other of the rumor protocol. No commentary, refer to policy. Jonah thanked the team for staying on rails. We broke apart, and the building settled back into its low, steady hum. When the lobby emptied, I set a small bouquet under Eleanor's plaque and wiped a ring from the counter. The printer clicked to sleep. The thermostat ticked down. I checked the visitor log, entries crisp, times clean, and ran a finger down the line with Brielle's initials. Her pouch had stayed sealed until she crossed the threshold. That detail mattered more to me than anything she'd said. Our coat rack stood ready for morning. Labels waited, 6 to 7, 8 to 10, 12 to 14. I straightened the intake pens and locked the drawer. No speech, no hug, no rewrite of the past. Just a line we'd hold and a path she could walk if she kept her feet where she said they'd be. Outside, the courtyard lights cast small circles on the concrete. The river noise fell away. I stood under the lobby sign and watched the motto glow through the glass. Protect, prove, provide. My hands rested easy at my sides. Jonah passed by the window and lifted 2 fingers. Good work, he mouthed.